Hello, and welcome back to HunterTuned. Today we have a customer car in the shop that we are working on. This is a EG hatchback with a built-up single cam. I think it's a Viterra build. At least I hope it's a Viterra build because we're gonna push it. We are currently draining the gas out of this thing. It was running on pump gas, and we just run a return line off the regulator into a gas can. And this thing had a little over half a tank, so I already got one freaking full 5-gallon jug here, and I'm working on the second one now. Almost out of gas though, so we're gonna be running to the gas station to get some E85 to pour in this thing. And we're gonna tune it up on E85. The setup's pretty simple. It's got a CX Racing turbo kit, pretty basic like eBay kit there. And RC750 high impedance injectors, Omni Power 5, or wow, I can't talk today. Speed Factory 4-bar map sensor. And yeah, Z6 looks like. The block's a Z6 at least. A couple other things I did to the car kind of off camera before I started filming is I tightened the motor mounts up because they were pretty loose. And yeah, guy dropped it off last night, and we're just gonna hopefully get this thing knocked out today and get it back to him right away. Also, another thing I did to this thing, it's got a full exhaust all the way out the back, and it had the silencer still in the muffler. And if you want a turbo to breathe through an inch of exhaust, it won't make any power. So we ripped the silencer out of the thing, and now it's just got the muffler wide open there. And yeah, so anyways, it is pretty shitty weather out. We've had some pretty bad storms the last day or two. There was like tornadoes and stuff all over, so we definitely, I don't know if we'll be able to get it on the street tuning it at all, but we can use the dyno, and we're gonna tune it up as best we can. He wants to make around 300 horsepower, so yeah, we're gonna get to ripping on this thing here pretty soon. But it sucks because this morning I was gonna bring my truck out here, and my truck died. Like, my truck fucking died, and all the dyno straps and shit are in my truck, so I probably gotta go back home to get that. In other news, I did get to work on the Del Sol some more. We actually got this thing up and running and driving. So in the last video, we put the injectors in this thing, and I also put a fuel pump in it because the guy said it had like a Walbro 500 or something, and I went in the back seat and we vacuumed this thing out because it was disgusting. And we pulled the back panels and stuff off to put a fuel pump in this thing, and it had completely stock fuel pump with a rat's nest on top of it. So definitely did not have a fuel pump installed. So yeah, got it running good though, and we actually took it out for a first drive last night, and I noticed that the exhaust started getting really loud and like ticky. So if you ever have like an exhaust tick, almost kind of sounds like valve noise or something like that, but it's, I kind of know the distinction between the two. But one of the bolts backed out on the turbo to the manifold here. One of the bolts backed out and it was leaking out of that bolt. So I proceeded to take the turbo kit off of this thing just to check everything else over. There's no gasket in between the manifold and the head, so I had to get one of those. And I bolted everything back together with the bolts actually tightened down. And yeah, this thing makes like 7 pounds of boost and seems to be running pretty good. I have a Walbro 255 in the tank right now, and I don't know if it's a good one because it seems like it's running out of fuel up top for some reason or another. I'm not exactly sure why, especially on such low boost. It shouldn't really be running out of fuel, but that fuel pump might be weak, or it might be a knockoff one that I had. It came in the purple car, and I didn't really know exactly what it was, but you guys know that we have issues with Walbro 255s. Another thing is this car has 255 Walbro in it as well, I suppose he said. And this thing had such a loud fuel pump when it came in. Like, it was whining. Like, probably just as loud or louder than both the pumps on the Mustang. That's how loud the fuel pump was on this thing. So it's funny because now that the thing's almost out of gas, it's not whining anymore. So I don't know if there was some shit in the pump that kind of had it clogged up a little bit, and it just freed up because it's almost out of gas, and it was able to spit the shit out of the pump maybe. But yeah, this thing's starting to like idle surge. She's almost out of gas. This car is also on Honda S300. So as soon as the rest of the gas is out of this thing, we are going to be pulling the spark plugs out and checking to see what plugs we got in it, and see what gap they're at and stuff like that, because we want to make sure that this thing at least has a set of BKR7s in it. Gap down to 18 thousandths is like where I usually put them. The smaller the gap usually doesn't hurt, it just helps. So yeah. Alright guys, so we just got the car all drained out of gas, and I just pulled the spark plugs out of it to check and see what was in here. And they do have a set of BKR7s in the car already, but the gap is like 32 thousandths, which is definitely a little bit too big for a turbo car. So as I was pulling the spark plugs out, I did notice that one of the spark plug tube seals in the valve cover on the bottom side there is torn, and it's actually leaking a bunch of oil into the spark plug hole. So I might pull the valve cover. This valve cover looks kind of sketchy. It's got like some RTV on that bolt, and then it's got like a B-series valve cover grommet thing right there. Hopefully we can get it sealed back up. Sometimes when valve covers are sealed, don't touch them, and then sometimes, you know, they work. But when it's leaking oil into the plug hole, that's definitely something we got to address. I also noticed the car was kind of over full on oil, and it does have an oil leak coming from somewhere on the left side of the motor here. I don't know if it's head gasket or distributor seal or something like that. But that's another issue that I did find. I may do a compression test on this thing just to make sure it's not hurt. You know, especially when cars come in and they're not like 100% perfect, I like to just make sure everything is good so I don't end up getting blamed for something if anything happened. All right, guys, today is fuel pump problem day. So we got the truck fixed. We had to take all the shit out of the bed and take the bed liner out because I have an access hole in the truck for my fuel pump. And the connection on that was just like super loose. So let me clean my lens. All right, so anyways, as you guys know, I was saying that the fuel pump on the EG was very loud, and we pulled it out. So we pulled the fuel pump out of this thing because I took it for a little cruise down the road just to make sure everything was good. This car has no brakes, none, zero, no brakes. So that's kind of sketchy. Another thing is the fuel pump is like a knockoff Walbro 255. It's way too shiny to be a real one. And like super shiny. And
I noticed that
this sock doesn't look like a
the Wally socks are small and
so anyways, we took out that piece of junk because it was just whining like crazy. Like it was just whining, like it was super loud. It was louder than my Mustang pumps. So what we did is I actually had a Worley 450 here, and I took the Wally 450, and that's what we're going to throw in it. So yeah, customer's going to pay for the Walbro, he said. So these are like $100 fuel pump, so we got that installed, looking nice, got it zip tied, new Wally filter there, got a new connection on here, and yeah, so we're going to throw this back in the car. Also, the hose that was connecting the fuel pump to there had no clamp on it, so that could have been like a leak. So yeah, but I'm used to this. Alrighty guys, so we got this little red EG all sorted out now. We got it strapped onto the dyno, and we got the tune-up pretty lined out. Car runs a lot better. It barely even idled when it came in. We got it idling better, and we got the car making about 15 pounds of boost right now. We did tune it on a little bit higher boost, but this car is so sketchy. It has one working brake and some other stuff, so he's got to get a lot of that stuff lined out before I'm just going to hand him 22 pounds of boost. So I had it turned back down and whatever. So anyways, car's running really good though. We got a full tank of E85 in it for him. The Walbro 450 is installed now, so he's got plenty of fuel for this thing. And yeah, what else do we do? The only other thing too is that I think the valve cover, because a couple of the bolts are messed up, it is leaking out of the valve cover a little bit because this thing is like over full on oil. And at higher boost, the head gasket does seem to be pushing into the overflow there. So I don't know if it's that or if it needs a radiator cap. This is an ARP studded motor, but I have no idea what the surface looked like or what head gasket they used, etc., etc. So without further ado, we're just gonna get some jam making here, and maybe I'll run you through some of the stuff in the tune. So yeah, we're just getting the dyno set up now.
Mint, dude. Mint. 336.
Oh shit! Hell yeah! Yeah, that's we actually, this car's running pretty good. So we got the car on the dyno, and we haven't been on the dyno in a while, but customer stuff usually goes on the dyno. So anyways, we had initially started off with this thing, and it was making like 186, 190 when it first came in, because it was spitting and sputtering. It wouldn't come above, like, I forget, $4,000 or something like that, because the fuel pump was messed up and the frickin' tune was super lean in boost. So we got that cleaned up. I got the fueling straightened out. We put that Walbro 450 in there, and yeah, and 20 pounds of boost, it makes like 330. Yeah. That's what we just made, 336. 262 is like 12 to 14 pounds. 292, we did a couple pulls here. 292 was right around, I want to say it was like 16 pounds, and then like it just picks up like 10 horsepower per pound of boost, so it's running really good. I told him that I'm turning it down to that 260, 290 number, somewhere in there, because I told him, I said, you need to get these fucking brakes fixed, because this thing is sketchy. So, but anyways, running good. We're gonna get this thing off the dyno. We made a bunch of pulls with it and a bunch of good gains. It's running good. E85 does the job every time, and a turbo Honda does the job every time until they break. Until it breaks, right?
Until it breaks.
Yeah. So yeah, another guy was asking where my Mustang is. It's right here. It isn't going anywhere. It just sits here. But we do also do Honda stuff on the channel, so I can't please everybody, it seems. Some people really like the Mustang, some people really like the Honda stuff. I can't please everybody. The Mustang is running great. There's no problems with this thing. I just want to get some new rear shocks. We were going to go racing this weekend, but it was super hot and we had really bad weather. So they closed the track down this weekend, and next week we have a no prep race that I'm actually going to be racing in. So I want to get a set of like single adjustable shocks for this thing. I think I'm just going to get a set of single adjustables. I could get double adjustables, but they're kind of expensive, and yeah, but I don't know if you guys have any recommendations on a set of shocks for this thing. I was thinking like QA1 or Viking, but I don't know. I'm not sure what shocks I need, not sure what shocks to get. This thing's like bone stock rear suspension, bone stock rear end, going 960s. But yeah, so anyways, we're gonna get this thing unstrapped here in a minute, and we'll pick up in a little while when we get the Del Sol pulled back in. Maybe we'll throw the deli on the dyno and get the bumper back on that car, because that thing is, yeah, needs a bumper. It's right there. Also, for anybody asking questions, I know there's been a couple comments too lately about regarding the dyno and if it's broken and whatever, and obviously you guys can clearly see that the dyno is not broken. It was never broken. We just kind of quit using it because we were making 500-600 horsepower on all the stuff that we were using, and the dyno currently can run upwards of like 300 to 400 horsepower, and then it starts having issues with load. We can't get the dyno to load any harder, and I'm just saving my pennies so I can buy a Telma retarder for it that can load the dyno for up to 1,000 horsepower, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. That's what I want to do, but for now, the dyno works great for like 4-cylinder stuff, but when we have big V8s, like that Corvette that was on the channel and some other cars that I've done, the big torque cars just push right through the load on the dyno. So, but like I said, Hondas and stuff like that, it works great. Like, we have dynoed hundreds, not hundreds, we've dynoed a lot of Hondas and have had great luck with the dyno. But as soon as we put the Mustang on, or like, you know, any big V8 torquey son of a bitch on it, we got to figure out how to load it a little better for those cars. So, but yeah. Alrighty guys, so we were working on the Del Sol now after the EG hatch had left, and me and Christian just kind of ran through some things on this thing to kind of see what was going on, because the tune-up was perfect and everything was running good, but it would lean out at high RPM every time I'd give it a little bit of boost. So this thing's on like 7 pounds of boost right now, not a whole lot, just trying to get the setup dialed in before we can, you know, turn her to the moon, because we're going to turn it to the moon, like rip the wastegate line off to the moon.
Like weld
the gate shut and see what this freaking little Godspeed turbo can do, or whatever the hell it is. So anyways, we kind of figured out the fuel pump issue because it was having a fuel pump issue. It was leaning out at high RPM, like it was kind of running out of fuel pressure, and it would do it no matter what frickin' 255 pump we put in it. So note to self, don't buy Walbro 255s, they're garbage. So we have two of them here. 50 buck OBO, I know what I got, no lowballers, right here. And then we have Mr. Noisy McNoiserson right here. So Mr. Noisy McNoiserson, this one that was really loud in that EG hatch, that one we tried out in this car just to like verify like, hey, it was the pump in the other car, and it was, like, because this thing leaned out as soon as it hit boost. So yeah, took Noisy McNoiserson out, put a different Noisy McNoiserson in, and then we borrowed Michael's Wally 450 because it was in his car, and I just like snuck over there, grabbed it real quick. Hopefully he's okay with it. So anyways, we put a 450 in the car and it just went dumb rich. Like 10.0, same tune-up, went 10.0 flat rich with the Wally 255 in it, or 450 I should say. And a lot of people will say that they're out of injector a lot of the time. Same thing with the Mustang. I pushed decapped injectors in this thing way farther because the rest of the fuel system was dialed in. And if you don't have a good fuel system going to the injector is going to be a lot smaller. It's not going to be able to flow what they should be able to flow. Same thing with my red hatch. I ran a set of the normal decapped injectors and went 10s with 4 decapped injectors. This thing, I went 9s with 8 of them. So, like I said, have a good fuel system that can supply the pressure that you demand, and your fuel system will go a lot farther. So that's Hunter's tech tip for the day. Christian is cleaning the windshield on this thing because this thing is frickin' filthy. Like, it's been sitting in a frickin' garage for like 3 years, and it's just full of dust and shit all over it. We vacuumed. The inside's fairly clean now because we vacuumed all the napkins off of it.
There's a rat nest.
There was a rat nest in the fuel pump.
And yeah,
so
where the fuel pump goes.
We fixed that, and yeah. So we're gonna have some more content on the deli here very soon. I actually really like this car. I don't know why. I kind of want to put an exhaust on it. We were thinking about doing a downpipe to...
A full exhaust?
No. I mean, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about running a full exhaust on this car, like all the way out the back. I don't want to do a hood exit. There was a couple guys that were like, hey, don't fucking cut the hole in the hood, and I was literally going to take a Sawzall and cut the damn thing in half because I don't care. I really don't care about Hondas in general. Like, they're fun and they're fun to play with, and they're Legos. They're not like some show car.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, at least to me. And it is my car at the end of the day. So, anyways, we were going to cut a hole in the damn hood, but the only reason I don't want to is because I kind of want to daily this car, and dailying a hood exit or a open downpipe can, especially with the shifter boot and shit missing, all the exhaust kind of comes into the car, and Christian's disagreeing with me, but even when I drive his car, I get like fumey. Like,
well, yeah, if you got the windows up, it gets
fumey.
But...
Yeah, so I would like to run a bumper exit on this car because that would direct the exhaust kind of away from the car rather than shove it under the car or above the car where it can come in through the window there. Sure. Yeah, that broke. So I was thinking a bumper exit would be kind of be cool, or a full 3-inch straight pipe. I don't know. I'd have to buy an exhaust if I wanted to do that. Whereas if we wanted to do the bumper exit, we could do that with a few bends from Fleet Farm. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. And we will see you later. Have a great night and a better tomorrow. Peace out. Hey, down. Should we give him the Old Town or the fucking the giddy up? We're going to do it.